Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Summer Food Festival. I'm happy to be here. I'm a hotelier by trade profession. I'm not an economist by any means. I'm sure this rain is not helping you understanding me any better. When it rains like this, I usually want to go to sleep. So if any of you go to sleep, I'll understand that it's the rain and not my speech. So, in as much as tourism is fundamental to organization of any country, facilitating business or leisure or other related travel for people outside of their usual habitat, a commercial organization, an operation to develop assets to support dining, entertainment, historic and unique landmark sites is the foundation of tourism as a pillar of economics. Good. It's widely believed that any country can experience accelerated growth for a period of 10 to 15 years. This is an economics mainstay, but they feel this is ubiquitous. It can happen without any planning or any direction. But for economies to sustain and experience accelerated growth, that requires clear governance, investment, and a clear strategy that not only impacts the community, but elevates people out of poverty, elevates the education, and impacts per capita income for the country. Some of the obvious recurrent events that contribute to downturns in economic conditions or instability in government, whether coming from within or externally, or it can be economic factors that from rising or failing commodities or other restrictions that are imposed for trade or otherwise. But the distinction that defines a country experiencing growth that moves economic conditions from developing to emerging markets requires a number of fundamentals to sustain over a period of time to create economic conditions that are more resistant to incidental changes in government or leadership or a single economic factor, negative or otherwise. The fastest growing companies in the world include many of Africa's emerging markets. In fact, out of the top 10 fastest growing economies in the world, the first 5 exist here on the continent in Africa. These countries include Ghana, South Sudan, Rwanda, Cote d'Ivoire, Ethiopia, and Senegal. Now, each of these countries have unique stories about their accelerated GDP growth, but all of them experience the same movement of elevating the critical factors of elevating people out of poverty, increasing the per capita income, and raising the educational level. All of these factors are conditional or measured by what is the International Monetary Fund. International Monetary Fund has three criteria for countries around the world: developing economies, emerging economies, and advanced economies. Out of the 54 countries in sub-Saharan Africa, they are all made up of either developing countries or emerging markets. The IMF and the World Bank use three criteria for determining where countries status. Testing, sorry. So the three criteria are per capita income, as mentioned earlier, expert diversification, the degree of integration into the global financial system. I'd like to focus more on the key drivers than trying to get into intricacies of economics. And I'd like to highlight a few countries in Africa's fastest emerging markets. Ghana being the first one. Ghana is a country that has experienced accelerated growth over the past 20 years. Their growth can be directly tied to stable government, free elections, diversifying growth in exports, global leadership in cocoa production, and now setting a market in cocoa production, rising oil production after discovering oil some 20 years ago, and the macroeconomic conditions that have managed credit facilities and cleaning up their banking sector during this period. But what's unique about Ghana and their rapid growth and investment in infrastructure, tourism assets, hotels, restaurants, and the like, is their unique marketing strategy in 2019, which they called Returning Home, the year of returning. This was marketed around the world to people of African descent from the Americas, from the Caribbean, from Europe, individuals like myself, to return as a tourist or to reclaim citizenship as a returning African. Ghana is the one of the few countries in Africa that offer full passport citizenship to returning African people of African descent. This is perhaps the most comprehensive vertical marketing campaign in recent modern history, inviting people of African descent to return home and to build African communities, starting with Ghana. This was not only visionary, it has opened the door to untold growth in tourism and travel for years to come. Unique to Ghana's growth strategy is Ethiopia. As Ethiopia is the second most populous country on the continent, with more than 100 million people, a unique history of not only not being one of the two countries not being colonized, following a very tumultuous period in the 70s, which overthrew the longest imperial rule in Africa, in the world, for that matter. Ushered in communists into Ethiopia for 13 years. But following that period in the early 2000s, clean and concise governance in Ethiopia saw a plan for public investment in infrastructure that has witnessed some of the fastest growth on the continent. Some of that investment includes the Renaissance Project, which is a dam on the Nile River with an investment of more than $5 billion US to create the largest power supply in East Africa. The light rail system, which is the first in the region in East Africa. Ethiopian state airline, which has now become the #1 airline on the continent. They've gone about buying up regional airlines, West Africa, Air Afrique here in Cameroon, or I'm sorry, in Togo. East Africa, 50% partial owner in Kenyan Airlines. They're negotiating to take over South African Airlines, who's the former leader in the skies on the continent. And a massive foreign investment that has spurred growth in small to medium enterprises, sparking job creation and extraordinary investment from foreign interests. The difference between perhaps Ghana and Ethiopia is that Ethiopia remains one of the poorest countries yet, but because of this investment, their growth rate of lifting individuals out of poverty, increasing per capita income, and raising the educational level has seen Ethiopia as one of the fastest growing countries in Africa and the leading developer of hotels and lodging assets also on the continent. I'd like to kind of wrap up and speak about the United States briefly. As most economic models are
2 more minutes, please.
are set around the American economy. American economy has been the leading economy since 1871.
Stuart, 2 minutes, please.
Thank you. With an annual budget of $6 trillion and a GDP of nearly 20 trillion. But America is largely a service economy. The Labor Department in the United States reported that 16.8 million people, that's 1 in 10 people in the United States, work in the hospitality industry. That's a job either in hotels, restaurants, or other tourism assets. Thank you.